So I truly believe that van life as a whole is changing. And yes, this old 2007 E350 is the foundation for what I think is going to be the best way to do van life moving forwards. So I'm gonna give you guys the lowdown and the specs of this particular vehicle. Then I'm gonna go over the vision and why I'm doing it, which I'll get into more of the details about where I think van life's going. And then the last part of this video actually is gonna be a tour of what currently exists on the inside of this van. What is up, guys? 70 Savage here, coming at you today. Very exciting video. Thought I would do the OG intro for this one. We have a new van in the driveway. If you are new to the channel, we have converted a couple of these vans, this one being the most recent, and we basically bought it as a bare cargo van with nothing on it, converted it all the way into this kind of luxurious tiny home on wheels, made an entire series documenting the build of that one, and today officially marks day one of the new build series on my Ford E350. To you, this probably looks like the standard everyday working van, but to me, this is actually a really, really special vehicle, and it was incredibly hard for me to find one in good condition. This is a 2007 Ford E350 with a V10 engine, which is very rare. Most of these vans come with a V8 engine. I think they made like 15 million of these things over the years that they were still in production. Like 95% of them had V8s. Very rare to find either a V10 or the 7.3 diesel. Those are kind of the two top end ones that van builders are looking for. Of all the listings of ones with V10s, 95% of those had the extended body, which I did not want. This one does have 140,000 miles on it, which sounds like a lot. It is a lot, but I could not find one in the entire country for the weeks that I was looking for one of these that had any less or was in any better condition. And not only did I try to find the lowest mileage one, but actually matters once you get into these super high mileage vehicles, like how well that vehicle was maintained. That being said, I did just drive this van down from like LA area all the way back up to Tahoe. It was a 7-hour drive, and it's not quite perfect. And then the question that a lot of y'all are probably wondering, how much did I actually pay for this? The deal we ended up settling on was for $11,000 in cash. And to me, that feels really, really cheap, because when you're coming from Sprinter World, where just the bare cargo vans can now cost like $90,000, this feels like a pretty accessible entry point. And the way that I do things on this channel is that 100% of the ad revenue from YouTube that I get, I put back into making more videos. So if you guys want to support the channel, press the subscribe button and then just watch videos that look interesting to you. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the vision for the build. For that, let's go inside where the audio might get a little bit better. Let's talk about the vision for the new build. So in its current form, as you guys see the E350 right now, it's going to be completely unrecognizable from what we plan on doing with it in its final form. The main goal that I have with this build is to create one of the most capable off-road van builds ever to exist. So yes, we are going to do a full 4x4 conversion on this thing. We're going to put a big lift. We're going to put big 35 or maybe even 36-inch tires on it. Might even put some rear lockers and built-in air compressor. This thing is going to be an off-road beast, because I believe of any van to have ever existed, these E350s, particularly with the V10 and the short wheelbase, are the most off-road capable, or at least have the potential to be the most off-road capable when you put the big four-wheel drive systems on them and stuff. So now that we've been doing van life for a number of years, I've learned that the best places to camp are the hardest places to get to. The way that I think about it is that there's like a triangle, and you can pick 2 of 3 things in this triangle. First, you have good camping, and then you have easy to get to, and then you have no people. In this day and age, especially after the pandemic, van life, RVs and all that stuff got so ridiculously popular that it just completely changed how you camp in one of these vehicles. There are no longer places just a few minutes off the side of the highway that are easy to get to, that are both good camping and don't have a ton of people. And in places like California, the ton of people also means you likely have to book that in advance. For the really good campsites, like the ones that exist on the most evil website ever, recreation.gov, you have to literally book out 6 months in advance if you want to camp there in your van. And to me, that kind of just defeats the purpose of van life. That's not what I originally envisioned when I got into this. I don't think that's what anybody actually thinks of when they're starting to build a van. So the main point I'm getting at, I think van life has changed. And I think the only way to get what you really want out of van life is to have a super off-road capable vehicle to go way out into those places that most people can't get to. Some of y'all might say, well, why don't you just build a freaking Jeep? They're the most off-road capable thing ever, and then you can just bring a tent and camp outside. That's a pretty good idea. But I love building these vans. It is actually really nice to not have to sleep in a tent and to have a little camper with a hard shell on the outside and you know, water system, electricity, all that creature comforts that make camping just a little bit nicer. And then I do want to talk about the plans that we have for the actual camper portion of this van. Due to that van being much smaller, this one has a much shorter wheelbase, a way shorter body, and it doesn't have a high roof. It's just not going to be as luxurious as a van like a Sprinter van. There's simply not as much space to put as many creature comforts like a full bathroom and shower. I don't have the exact plan for what I want to do with this camper build. I'm actually going to make a video on that and bring you guys along with that journey so that you can help influence it. But I do know that I want to keep it incredibly lightweight, even more lightweight than the materials that we use for this one. I want it to be strong because we are going to be doing some insane off-roading. And then I want to strike the right balance between simplicity of the build so that it can be taken apart and worked on easily, but also luxury of the build so that it's comfortable to camp in when you're actually spending time in it. And I think that covers pretty much the entire vision of this van build. If you guys do have questions or you want to kind of influence the future of what I should do with this van, just leave it in a comment below. I didn't actually set out to buy a van that had already been converted. In fact, it would have been ideal if there was just nothing in the back so that I did not have to rip the entirety of this build out. But this guy Pete, he's getting old, and I can tell he put a lot of passion into this build, and there's also some really cool elements of it. So I just want to document it. I want to put it on video before we rip it out and start a new one. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the exterior. First thing that I noticed when I saw the van in person is that you can see we don't have Ford logos. In fact, we have a number of logos around the exterior of the van that seem to have been 3D printed that said FJB. I, being the apolitical person that I am, was on the test drive, and on the way to his house, I said, "Hey Pete, what does FJB mean?" And he proceeded to say, at which point I just said, "Oh," and yeah, I had to get these on film. And that is not a political statement. I do not politically associate, honestly, in real life that much, or definitely not on this channel. And then honestly, most of the stuff on the exterior of this van is factory, like all the wheels and suspension and body and all that. That being said, there is some stuff on the top of the van already. First one is a few solar panels. They're actually mounted very, very well. 2 of them are mounted to this roof rack, which also has an awning on it. And then the back one is actually just screwed in and sealed to the top of the roof. We do have a little bike rack thingy. I'm not really sure exactly what it is, but that's going to be coming off. And then in the middle of the van, you can see that there is what I think is actually a fantastic fan that pops up. It's just like a standard RV roof fan. I have a lot of confidence because although to you, this might just look old and crappy and look like an RV, to me, this looks like good workmanship. Even though this guy had to screw this solar panel directly into the roof, which is a risky thing to do, he put the screws in and then he did a really good job of sealing around them. So my guess is that when I do take this off, there will be no rust underneath. That covers it for the exterior. Now let me give you guys the lowdown of what this build actually looks like. So if we go ahead and open these side doors here, which I need to unlock. This is what the camper currently looks like. Overall, we have a little countertop thingy, which does not have any sort of water system or sink in it. I did ask Pete, is this some sort of sink or something? And he said, nope, it is a bread pan. And I was a bit confused, but he said he had just found a bread pan at a flea market or something and dropped it in here. He also was sure to inform me that I could store one of my firearms on this secret shelf down here. And then on the other side of the van, we just have this bed, which is on gas struts and has some storage underneath. The cabin section of the van is pretty much untouched. We do have this felt thing, which I haven't taken off yet and may or may not be scary once I look underneath it. I just wanted to keep everything exactly how it was for you guys for this tour. We've got ourselves not one, but two more FJB logos. We have a side-to-side leveling thingy and a front-to-back leveling thingy, which I actually thought was really smart because that basically helps you get a level spot to park on. So when you're camping, you can have a level place to sleep. But what's important about the front of this is that it's actually in really good condition still for a 2007 van, especially a 2007 van with felt seats. Put it in perspective, this is a short van, so I have to walk around on my knees like this. And even when I'm walking around on my knees, this is where my head is. I cannot be straight up. I can if I kind of sit down like this. Having a really, really thick kind of foam material in between the plywood floor and kind of, the carpet or whatever you end up putting on top is actually a great idea. And I'm gonna carry that idea into the new van as well. In this kind of galley unit thing here, we have the full electrical system, including 2 batteries, which are down here. Both the batteries are dead though, so when I did pick it up and camp in it for that first night, I had 0 power whatsoever. He does have a propane tank in here, which presumably was used for cooking, because he did leave me some pots and pans, which not sure I'm gonna keep or not. And then behind these two things, we kind of have a small rear section where he decided to put a big fridge that also did not work. And actually I haven't opened, I'm a little scared. Actually, let's see what's in this thing. Oh, it's actually not too bad. I was expecting it to look a little bit more sketch in there. But anyways, big fridge, a little bit of just storage space, an outdoor table that he used to set up when he camped outside, and then just a little storage shelf up above the back of the bed section. He also made these Reflectix window covers that are super lightweight, and they just friction fit because they're so light into each one of the windows. I thought that was really cool, and they actually worked pretty well the first night I camped with them. And then final thing in the camper section of this build is just this vertical cabinet, which has storage in it. And he put a big jug of oil, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad sign. He also stores this little stick right here that we can put underneath this, and it makes a little table that would work if your van was not parked on a slant like this. What I really, really cared about and why I bought this van is if you look at the exposed pieces of metal, the doors are in incredibly good condition. There's no big scratches, there's no rust. The guy, Pete, who converted this, I think he had an engineering brain, because to be honest, I think the workmanship and the craftsmanship in this build are really, really high. He did everything with a very great level of detail. There was not a single squeak or rattle in the build portion of the camper while I was driving down the highway or even off-roading. And that is way harder to accomplish in reality than you might think when you build a camper van. There's almost always a squeak or a rattle. There was a lot of detail. Guys, look at this, the wires. He put little housings on all the wires, and anywhere where they ran behind the metal, he put them inside of a tube so that they wouldn't rub up against the metal and break over time. If you look at the very edges here, there's a little bit of dirt, but you can see that this Reflectix material that he put underneath the floor to insulate it is perfectly cut to match the contours of the shape of the floor, which really makes me think when I lift this thing up, there's actually going to be minimal rust. I think that his care and effort into making this build really high quality is going to carry over into the new build as well. So yeah, I think that honestly covers it for the entire intro to this van. And now that I've captured it, I'm really excited to start tearing it apart. It's going to be quite a mission getting this thing to the vision that we have in our heads, but super excited to document the entire process, put all those videos on this channel. I really hope that you guys are also looking forward to this build series as much as I am. If you did like this video, please slap the like button below. And if you're not subscribed, press the subscribe button below. That's what lets me know, am I doing the right stuff that you guys want to see? So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.